Welcome in everybody to a podcast about movies. I am Jacob Barber, joined as always by Austin Howell. Austin, how's it going?
Hey man, no, it's been a minute, but yeah, we're coming back strong. We're gonna get back into the swing of things. I'm always happy to be talking movies with you, sir. We got a bevy of movies tonight, from the good, the bad, and the ugly.
We
A little
do,
bit of
yeah.
everything, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about three of these movies.
Yeah, right. Well, we can get the one out of the way fairly quickly and work our way up to the really good stuff, you know. Get the one out of the way and talk about three great movies.
Right. Yeah, and as the title says, we are talking some biopics today because the Bob Marley biopic comes out Wednesday the 14th. I wonder if they like because Madam Web's coming out on Wednesday. I wonder if they're just like cashing in on Valentine's Day, like, hey, couple's gonna go to the movies, have a date night. So like let's just put these new movies in a day early instead of on Thursday.
Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, they're coming out like yeah, literally like directly on Valentine's Day, which is weird. Which I think means they're also doing shows on Tuesday, because usually they whatever the opening day is, they do showings the
Right.
day before. So technically, maybe the 13th. But yeah, it's I don't know. Bob Marley has reviews out, not great so far from what I'm hearing. It's
I've heard mixed things on it. Yeah.
mixed. I've heard it has some very cliche biopic stuff, which kind of relates to what we're talking about. That Walk Hard the Dewey Cox story points out, throughout that movie, almost 20 years now. And then Madam Web's review embargo drops the day it
Day
opens, so
before. Yeah, or yeah, the
or
day
like pretty much like the morning it opens, so that's not good.
never a good sign.
Yeah,
Never a good sign.
it's like
Um,
midnight, the technically the day of or something. So yeah, that's never good.
no. But Well, yeah, we are here. We're going to talk some biopics today. So we've got four on on the slate today. And yeah, the first one, well, I don't know if we did this. We didn't do this intentionally, but we did pick two 2018
Oh yeah.
biopics. And so we're gonna get this one out of the way first. Um, yes, Gotti from 2018.
The
Um,
movie pass special, Gotti.
Yeah, this was rough. I messaged Austin earlier this morning and told him I was an hour into it and felt like I had been watching it for 2 hours already.
Well, and I told you I had a similar experience where I had to watch it in like three pieces, because I had the same thing. I got like 45 minutes in the movie and I felt like I've been watching it for 3 hours, and I had to just stop, and like I picked it up, another hour up another day, and then like I finished it off, like the day after. I just had to take it in chunks because, yeah, boy, does this movie drag ass. The pacing of
Yeah,
this movie is horrible. It's
not
really bad.
good.
Yeah.
John Travolta
We
is not
should
happy.
explain. We should explain. Okay. The way we're structuring this is and it kind of works out this way. We're talking about a bad biopic, how not to do a biopic, and then we're going to talk about a good movie about a bad filmmaker, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Somebody that made bad movies. And then we'll go to like underrated, underseen kind of stuff, and then a big epic one, So we should say that. That's how we're structuring this.
We should,
By,
yeah.
by starting with Gotti. But yes, we're starting on how not to do a biopic and what not to do when doing something.
Yeah, I personally knew nothing about the guy this was based on. So if you just told me that this was a badly written crime movie, I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is a badly written, poorly paced, just bad crime movie. But you could tell that it was based off real people because they spliced in shots of the real people during the movie.
And
Yeah,
like news footage from like back in the day, that was actual real news
yeah,
reports. No, I know a little bit about John Gotti, not like a ton, but he was a real dude who did kind of run a crime family back in like 70s, 80s New York. He really did like run a good chunk of Brooklyn and Queens, things like that. And it's funny the way this movie tries to very abruptly at the end be like, yeah, but a lot of people like John Gotti, so was he really a bad guy? And then like just throws that in as almost like an epilogue. It's like there's so much actually behind that you could have done with this movie, but he also ran things for like 30 years to where trying to fit all this stuff into a 2-hour movie is almost impossible.
Right.
This really needs to be like a TV series, if you want to
Yeah.
do a decent thing with, because this movie is so rushed and awkwardly edited, and just scenes just stop and start and just go nowhere, and it's really, really poorly done.
Yeah. I feel like because the other three that we're going to talk about, they took like a chunk
Right.
of time or their
Time,
career
yes.
and focused on that. Whereas,
Uh-huh.
yeah, here we're looking at John Travolta and this terrible makeup. Um, yeah, they made these time jumps. I'm like, wait, what are we doing now? Where are we? What year is this?
Yeah.
Um, it was, yeah, and I didn't know what they were talking about. Like, it's like they don't want his son to be part of it, but we know that he's part of it because this whole time he's been talking with his dad in jail. It's like,
Yeah, right.
we know you're going to be a part of it, so it's like
Yeah.
there's like, we know you are. So there's like some unnecessary scenes thrown in there. Um, I had to laugh when the kid got hit on the mini bike because that car was not going nowhere fast enough
For
to
him to die. Yeah, there's
for him
no
to die.
way. He was doing 10, he was obeying the neighborhood speed limit of like 10 miles an hour. He wasn't going
Yeah,
very fast at all. He would have got tapped. He may have hit his head, got a concussion. There's no way that kid
right.
would be dead.
And he was on the wrong side of the road. So how was it the driver's fault?
Yes.
Let's talk to your kid about proper road safety. Um,
But no, we got to whack the guy anyways, because he's a
no,
gangster. No, I mean, I think one of the worst examples, Jacob, and you'll probably remember the sequence after the kid gets hit. We should say they like lose a kid, so everybody's distraught or whatever. But we're not going to spend any time on that. The exposition and kind of development we get from that is the wife. We just see one shot of her in a bed with a bunch of pills on her table, sleeping, and Gotti just abruptly comes in and goes, "All right, enough of this already. Get up and get your life back together." And then we just cut, and we never revisit that like again.
yeah, there's so much that you could have done there.
Yeah, and we just move on, and like we never really like see anything for the wife ever again. The rest of the movie, and we just gloss over that one scene of him kind of crying a little bit, and then we just move on. And it just like never comes up again. It's really badly done.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and John Travolta was a good actor. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he's just signing on to movies because he needs a paycheck. But like he's giving performances like he doesn't want to be there. So I don't know what the purpose of this movie was. It was not a good
Yeah.
biopic. Did they maybe want to make a bad biopic because he was a bad man? They're like, no, we're not going to honor him with a good movie. Like I don't.
Travolta's acting consists of exactly what's on the back of this thing, and pardon me, there's a used sticker because I definitely didn't buy this new. The face he makes in this picture on the back, just scowly face. That's what he does the entire movie. That's his expression face. Is just this frowny face thing, and that's his expression for everything, whether he's sad, happy, vengeful, angry, delighted.
Yeah,
That's his face for everything.
It's like that Many Faces of Vader T-shirt.
It's all the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We just, in this movie it just like jumps right into it. Like they expect you to know who John Gotti is and who some of these people are.
Yeah.
Like, I thought there was a moment where there might be something cool because like when he was in jail, but he was still like being able to be taken on the outside and still like work and like he goes and shoots that guy in the hotel room. I'm like, oh, well that's cool. Maybe we can like do some more of this and maybe there's some redeeming qualities here because I think that could be interesting if we could. But no, he's in there for 3 years. We see that and then he's out.
Yeah. No, we just breeze over everything in this movie. There's shorthand stuff where it's just like literally they do the cheap thing where it's like he goes into a club and there's Sammy the Bull, who's like a pretty famous hitman, and we just plaster Sammy the Bull on the screen, just for shorthand. We don't get to know the character, like we do in Goodfellas where we get to know Tommy or get to know, whoever, Jimmy, whatever. It's just like, no, we're just gonna plaster the name on the screen and then just go with that. Yeah, it's like it's just a lot of shorthand. The editing is just really, really poor. It's an hour and 45 minutes, and like you said, it feels like 3 hours because it's just really poorly paced. It just drags, and the only thing interesting is sometimes Travolta, I don't know if Travolta is trying to be funny sometimes, or if he's just so serious that it comes off as kind of hilarious in some of his line deliveries, because he's doing a very typical, New York accent, kind of a thing. He's doing this like very brash accent thing, but it comes off as more funny than trying to be serious.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he's doing here, and because I don't think the makeup's like that bad in certain instances when he's like middle aged, when he's a little gray.
No, middle age is fine. Yeah. But
it's when they do the old man makeup in the jail, it looks really bad when he's like bald and all that. And then when they try to young him down to make it like where Travolta, who's almost 60 in real life, or 60, I think, is playing like 30 again, it doesn't look good.
No, it didn't. This movie was messy. I can see why it's a part of that 0% club on Rotten Tomatoes.
The very rare 0% on Rotten Tomatoes club. Yeah.
It's got 44% on audience, so I'd like to meet those 44%. They've got to like it, like ironically, like, oh yeah, no, it's just a fun bad movie, and I'm like, it's not even.
Maybe there's it's like, because I can enjoy a fun bad movie. You know me, I love fun bad movies. I love Hypnotic. It's a great bad movie. But I love The Room. The Room is great. I can love a movie we'll talk about that Ed Wood made called Plan Hide from Outer Space. Like that movie's hilarious. Like that movie's great. But this is just a boring bad movie, which is kind of the worst. Yeah. The worst sin you could commit as a bad movie is to just be boring. So not good. But I don't know, if you're interested, I think it's free a couple of places. If you dare.
I watched it on Hulu.
Yeah, there you go. Enjoy.
An hour and 45 minutes of my Saturday that I will not get back. No. But then I immediately went in and rewatched this movie because this movie is great, and this movie just gets better every time I rewatch it. Tim Burton's Ed Wood from 1994, one of the best years for movies too. We'll definitely later on in the year we'll definitely be talking some more 1994 movies.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, Ed Wood, directed by Tim Burton and starring Johnny Depp, Martin Landau, Sarah. It's got a lot of people in it. Sarah Jessica Parker's in it. Bill Murray.
George the Animal Steel as Tor Johnson.
What's his name?
Jeffrey Jones.
Jones is his last name.
Yeah, who was in he's in Beetlejuice. He was in a bunch of Tim Burton movies. He was in Ferris Bueller. He's kind of canceled now. We don't really talk about him too much. He's in the canceled club, but I mean, he was in everything kind of back in the 80s and 90s. And it has the guy who plays the dude who first hires I forget his name, Mike something. He's a character actor. He's in Dumb and Dumber. He's they think he's the gas man in Dumb and Dumber. He's in a bunch of stuff. But he's the guy who first hires Ed Wood, to make. That Mike Starr, I think is his name, something like that. Yeah, Mike Starr, I think is his name, but he's a character actor who's in everything, like who he is. And there's other character actors who kind of pop up in and out of the movie. Vincent D'Onofrio plays Orson Welles later in the movie, dubbed over, unfortunately, which is weird, but minor nitpick.
Yeah, but no, I love this movie, and not just because Tim Burton's my favorite director. Like, this is just a really good biopic. I feel like, and this is something I picked up on this most recent rewatch. It's not even just a biopic about like this time in Ed Wood's career, but it's also sort of a biopic for Bela Lugosi's kind of last years of his life as well. And I'm like, oh, that's I was able to notice that a lot more this time because I've seen this movie a few times now. I was like, oh no, that's really interesting. Like it's like a double biopic. Almost like, of course, the focus is Ed Wood because that's called Ed Wood. But seeing a little bit, and because we see his drug use and just kind of how he's dealing with not being the big star that he once was. That's something I noticed and latched onto a little bit more this time. But of course, the focus is Ed Wood and the being the bad filmmaker. The bride of the atom, bride of the monster. And Glenda, which he he wanted to make his Orson Welles movie, and so he went Glenn or Glenda.
Yeah.
Wrote, produced, starred, whatever.
And then his epic, glorious science fiction film, Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is kind of what everything kind of builds to in the movie, and his, his big, glorious,
The
giant
one that
movie.
will remember me for.
The one that will remember me. Yeah. No, I mean, it's about, this guy who clearly, and it's very true to real life, had a heart for movies. He loved movies. He loved old movies. He loved Bela Lugosi, like generally, and those old monster movies and everything. And he loved science
Yeah.
fiction. It's one of those things where he just didn't have any talent, and you know what? Sometimes you just don't have it, and you try and it just doesn't work. Hey, Jacob, I know you love basketball, but you don't play professional basketball, do you? Sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah, sometimes,
Right?
nope.
Sometimes
Skill
it just doesn't
wasn't
work.
there.
Yeah,
And
I love wrestling. I could never be a wrestler. That's why I became a referee instead of a wrestler, because something I could do within the context of that. But I can't be a professional wrestler. Like, there's no way. Like, I can't do that. Sometimes you just don't have the genetics or the skills or the experience or whatever. But you got a heart for it. You put your best effort into it, and it just doesn't work out. But again, some of the best bad movies are the ones that are made sincerely, from the heart, and just turn out horribly and just don't work. But there's a genuineness behind it, which is the heart of this movie.
Yeah, and I think Johnny Depp did a really good job, because the whole time, like, during the movie making scenes, like, you could see it, like, in his eyes, like, he's really into what the actors and the performers are doing.
Yeah.
And, like, you can tell, like, he sincerely means when he's like, all right, cut. That was perfect. Like, you can tell that he means that. Like, he thinks what you guys just did was perfect, and he's like, all right, let's wrap. Let's make a movie in 3 days. And you get his kind of love and fandom for Bela Lugosi. I really, like, again, this time watching, I really dug their friendship a little bit more, because like I said, it's kind of the last years of Bela Lugosi's life, and played wonderfully too. I think Martin Landau won the
supporting actor. Yeah, rightfully so, and he's great. He's amazing. He nails it.
Yeah, it's still amazing to me that this isn't an Oscar-nominated role for Johnny Depp, but Jack Sparrow and Sweeney Todd are. That's just incredible to me.
Yeah,
but
I was actually going to look up the. We like to play the game sometimes of, like, what was the stuff from 1994.
Which, I mean,
what was going on.
It is a big year, so I think
it is a very big year. I mean, there was a lot of amazing movies, so it's like hard to take out somebody. I mean, it's amazing that even Martin Landau won that he did, because he's up against Sam Jackson and Pulp Fiction, which I know he was disappointed when he didn't win. Gary Sinise and Forrest Gump is great. I mean, like, it was basically the year of Forrest Gump, because Tom Hanks won for Best Actor. I mean, you're going up against Morgan Freeman in The Shawshank Redemption. You're going up against Travolta in Pulp Fiction. Speaking of Travolta, one of his good roles. So I mean, what do you do? It's even if you throw him in there, he ain't winning. He ain't beating Morgan Freeman or Tom Hanks. It's just not happening.
I like to think that he was sixth.
Yeah, those honorable mentions. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that it's shot in black and white. The black and white looks really good. And it kind of feels like an old timey movie that was shot in the 50s or 60s. Just with the look. That's one thing that I love about Tim Burton, is just despite how good his movies are, I think, like, the production design is always really cool to look at. Even in something like a Planet of the Apes or a Dumbo, which I wouldn't necessarily say Dumbo's a bad movie, but it's not great. I thought there was a lot you could do there, and I don't think he quite made a great movie. But the production design, again, the circus and all that is really cool. So I think whoever he hires to do that, like, good job.
No, and the whole thing is, you can tell that Burton was definitely, I'm sure he was a fan of stuff like Plan 9 from Outer Space, like actually a fan of that type of stuff, probably saw it on TV before. And you can tell he's having a great time sort of recreating these sets, the little cheap sets that they make everything on, Bride of the
Yeah.
Atom and all that stuff, these little goofy, like mad scientist labs and, all these little things. And, when they do the Plan 9 stuff, recreating the cemeteries and and the silly stuff there, like, you can tell he's having a good time with that. Yeah, like you said, with all the production design, of course, and all the recreations, and even all the side people. Like I said, it's kind of cool. They got an actual wrestler to play a wrestler. Tori Johnson was a real wrestler, so they find George Adams Still, who looks just like him and is a wrestler in itself, so it works. They, getting Lisa Marie to play the vampire chick or whatever her name is, the one who's in that, like, she looks just like her too. And don't underestimate. I think Sarah Jessica Parker is really good in this movie. She doesn't get enough credit, and she's really, really great in this one. This is his girl, and especially those scenes where he comes out, talking about how he likes to cross dress and whatnot. I like to wear women's clothing. It just makes me feel good. All this stuff. Like, she's her stuff is great. Yeah, Bill Murray is one of his more kind of understated roles. He's not trying to be like big and sarcastic and kind of bombastic. It's just he's playing this like gay man, who's just kind of hanging out with him and part of his crew, and he's very fun to watch as well. And you can tell he's enjoying kind of the different role, I think, around this time.
He's great.
Yeah.
And then I didn't put this together until just recently, but Max Casella from Newsies and Doogie Howser is in this movie as like one of the crew members, and he's one of the soldiers in the play at the beginning. And I'm like, I know him from somewhere, I've seen him somewhere, and then I had to look him up. And
Tim Blake Nelson showed up for a minute too. You remember, he's the guy who tries to talk to Bela Lugosi and says like, "Oh, I love those movies you made with you and Karloff or whatever." And then he gets pissed off about Boris Karloff. Boris Karloff is nothing without me. Like, that was Tim Blake Nelson. Early role for him. So I mean, a bunch of like that little character actors that pop up kind of in and out of this movie that you recognize now. Like I was saying, Mike Starr is the producer who gives him the money to make, and then he calls him, that's the worst movie I've ever seen. Oh, worst thing you've ever seen, huh? Well, next one will be better.
My favorite line.
No, next one will be better. No, you're fired. You're done. No, it's great.
I love Ed Wood. It goes up my personal list every single time I watch it.
Yeah.
I was glad when we were able to get it to finally win a tournament on the Depp versus Oldman, because while Finding Neverland might have been my I like that one more as a Johnny Depp movie. I think this is one of his better performances. So I was like,
but at least you had a Johnny Depp / Tim Burton movie once. So that's a double victory.
So
your director and your actor. So there you go. Not a bad thing. There you go.
No, Ed Wood is fantastic. I need to go back and watch those bad movies because they're available.
Plan 9
is available everywhere.
No, Plan 9 is public domain, so it's available everywhere. You can find it on YouTube. Like I said, there's people that have done like commentaries over it, things like that. That movie's everywhere. I think Leonard Glenda's out there. Leonard Glenda is a little more boring. It's not as outlandish and crazy. Plan 9 really is his kind of like magnum opus of bad, to where just like bad special effects, bad sets, just bad acting, but again, entertaining, and like in that sincere, like, he tried, he just didn't have any money or talent to do it. And it shows. Just very sincere performance. And if you haven't gone back and watched this movie, because I just came to it like maybe like 2-3 years ago, like not that long ago. I watched it 5 or 6 times since I got. I love this movie. Like, it's just a great comfort movie, like that I put on. That's just funny and sincere, and just really well done. So and a true celebration of a guy that you could tell Burton is a fan of and Depp is a fan of, and paying respect to an infamously bad filmmaker, but in a loving way. Not making fun of the guy. Really being like, no, this guy tried. He just didn't have it, but he put his heart into it, and he really wanted to. And like you said, more of a biopic of like him and his friendship with Bela Lugosi too, and paying tribute to him as well.
He had passion for filmmaking, and I think that came across. And I mean, you can be passionate about something and not be very good at it.
No.
But the sincerity is there, and I think all his friends and everyone knew that. Like, I mean, he had his at the end of the movie, his new girlfriend, played by Patricia Arquette, was
Mhm.
jumping in front of a car for him. So like,
Yeah.
he was loyal. His friends were loyal, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure I would have liked the guy, I just wouldn't have liked his movies.
No.
So
Or wouldn't have the heart to tell him that it's bad.
yeah, I just was like,
Even when everybody on the crew is like, you sure you don't want to do that again, buddy? You know that no, cut rap. That's a wrap. Moving on.
but that
Cut it.
tombstone, but that tombstone fell. People don't pay attention to the details.
Yeah.
Now they
He
do.
literally ran into the door. It's genuine. You know, he's a big man that big would have trouble in real life going through doors like that. So the audience will think it's authentic.
That was the one time I was like, I kind of get that, but at the same time, it's like, do it again.
But at the same time, you should probably just do it again. Yeah. No, that's good stuff.
Edward is fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we let's go back to the year 2018.
Yes. With
and
a much better movie from 2018 that
much
we're
better
both
movie
are
from
the big
2018,
fan
yeah.
of. Yeah.
And one that Gotti probably should have could have learned something from. Like, hey, you don't have to do it about his entire life.
Yeah.
No, we got Stan and Ollie
Mhm.
from 2018, starring Steve Coogan and John C. Reilly as Laurel and Hardy.
I don't have it's only on import Blu-ray, but I do have this Laurel and Hardy collection that I own. So I do have some Laurel and Hardy stuff.
I have
Yeah.
I just have the DVD. It's
DVD. Yeah, I think it's like out of print now or something. I can't find it. It's weird. So I may have to like go on eBay or something and try to find one. It's weird, but I own it on Voodoo. But yeah, it's kind of hard to find on physical.
So it says the untold story of the world's greatest comedy team, and they're like, well, the untold half story.
Sort of, yeah.
I mean, because it kicks off. They're already performing, and then we cut to 16 years later, and they're having kind of like a reunion tour of some sort over in England, while trying to get another movie made. And I always forget which one John C. Reilly is.
John C. Reilly is Oliver Hardy, and Steve
Hardy.
Coogan is Stan Laurel. Yeah, think of Hardy as like more of the kind of chubby guy, Hardy. You know, like he's hearty. You know, something like that. That's a good way to remember it.
Because I haven't actually watched any Laurel and Hardy. The only like things I know about them are from this movie. I want to go back.
I was going to ask you. So I am a fan of a lot of these old comedy things. I consider myself like a pretty hearty little fan of those. I was going to ask you what your experience is with any of these old acts, you know, not just Laurel and Hardy, but you know, Three Stooges, Marx Brothers, Little Rascals, I've seen anything like that, or Abbott and Costello, obviously.
I've seen Abbott not a lot of Abbott and Costello, but I've seen quite a few. I actually just watched Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein the other day, because we're doing a classic comedies for Rankum, and I will definitely be bringing that one up. I think it could be pretty high up. That one was.
Well, that's a great introduction if you've never seen any Abbott and Costello, just because it also has the Universal Monster stuff. So that's a great introduction to both their style of comedy, and you know, you can still watch it as a Universal Monster movie.
Yeah.
So that's good. So yeah, but like no Laurel and Hardy, any Three Stooges.
No. I mean, Three Stooges. I've seen clips and like little bits here and there, but I've never like watched. Just sat down and watched. There's a lot of it. I think there's a lot of it available on Tubi.
It's a big box.
I think Tubi's got a lot of Three Stooges, because Tubi just has everything, including Glenn or Glenda.
Brothers.
I haven't really. No, I'm looking into it because this classic comedy thing on Tuesday. Like, I have some time.
Little Rascals.
I just thought the Little Rascals was the '90s movie.
No. This is old school. I had Little Rascals stuff, Jacob, on VHS. There was a VHS series that this company called Cabin Fever put out back in the '90s, and they were hosted by Leonard Maltin. He did little intros for each one of the shorts, and each video had like 4 shorts on it. You know, that's sort of. I had a bunch of those. My parents bought them for me because they had familiar with this. This is the DVDs that they put out obviously years later, kind of remastered. But no, Little Rascals is the same company. Hal Roach, who they talk about, and Stan and Ollie kind of created the Little Rascals. He was kind of the main guy who worked with Laurel and Hardy at his studio. Yeah, and so yeah, I Little Rascals. I had VHS tapes of Three Stooges stuff. Leslie Nielsen used to host a thing on AMC about Three Stooges, like a an hour-long thing where they played like 2 or 3 of their shorts, and he had these little interludes, teaching a class, sort of thing with Leslie Nielsen. It's great. Right. And yeah, I even wrote a term paper on the Three Stooges in college. I swear to God, that's real. I'm a giant fan of the Three Stooges. I love the Three Stooges. So I consider myself more of an expert on the Stooges. But I like Laurel and Hardy as well, because they all came up around the same time. Yeah, 30s and 40s. They did a ton of short films and features at the Hell Roach Studios. This collection I have is all their the sound features, because they did silent movies in the 20s as well, but then they did sound stuff in the 30s, and then they did like 23 full length in quotes. It's like an hour and 5 minutes, like what full length was back then. It's kind of like Duck Soup for the Marx Brothers is like 62 minutes, things like that. But a lot of these 18-minute, 20-minute shorts, very much like slapstick, a lot of back and forth kind of misunderstanding humor, things like that, awkward stuff as you see kind of recreated in the movie. But the reason I bring that up is, a great place to start is the casting of Coogan and John C. Reilly is spot on. They're both terrific in this movie. And especially if you're as familiar with the original ones as I am, their mannerisms, their physicality, the timing and the bits like that they do throughout the movie on stages and stuff, spot on. I mean, 100% spot on. They got it down to a T, everything from John C. Reilly's little like just kind of lookaways, every time he's embarrassed by what something Stan does, or it's just little like the little waves he does, to people, the kind of little turn your head and wave sort of thing that he does. Everything's great. So I mean, the first thing you talk about this movie is the casting is terrific. Two of these guys, some of their best roles I think they've ever done. Both of the guys.
Yeah, I think they're fantastic, and I think this is a great, like, both they're both doing comedy and being dramatic at the same time, because it's very much a dramatic biopic, but the comedy when they're recreating the skits and whatnot, they're really funny. Like they're hilarious.
Very funny.
I mean, if they're this funny in the movie, I can just imagine how much I'm gonna laugh when I watch the real thing.
And there's a ton of Laurel and Hardy on YouTube. There's a company, like a film society, that has uploaded a lot of the restored like 30 shorts, and things like that to YouTube. So you can go see a lot of their shorts, which are the best place to start. Watch a 18-20 minute short, different premises, them restoring a house, or them going to a high society party, or them, trying to move a piano. Like there's a famous one of that, like they reference in the movie, the lady talks to them about that. Like, I've seen that one. Yeah. It's them trying to go up this huge flight of stairs, things like that. But yeah, all basic premises, but a lot of fun. And yeah, like their actual stage things, because they reproduce a few things where they do like the dance from the movie Way Out West that they did, in front of the screen. They do the little dance that they kind of reference throughout the movie. They recreate a little bit of that. But yeah, mainly it's like about the stage show. And this is an amalgamation of kind of 2 tours that they did. Again, for dramatic purposes for the movie, they kind of take a few liberties of like, it's a combination of some of their stuff from, they did a tour in 47 and 53 of England and Scotland, but it's still based on a book a guy wrote about kind of their tours and whatnot. And yeah, it's just this sort of, a lot of these teams, Abbott and Costello was the same way. Three Stooges were the same way, kind of when, they weren't really showing these shorts and these movies really anymore. People kind of moved on to other things in the 50s, and they moved on to sci-fi, they moved on to westerns, they moved on to other things. A lot of these guys, not that they got forgotten about because the studios were still playing their stuff, but they weren't producing new stuff. And these guys didn't have much to do. So a lot of them went on these live tours. Stooges did the same thing in the 60s, went on these tours just kind of doing basically just rehashes of their old routines. And yeah, it's I mean, sad to a degree, again, because they feel like they've been forgotten and whatnot, that's that sort of thing. But, at the same time, coming to the realization that, not everything lasts forever. But, like Stan says at the end of this movie, it's fun while it lasted. And you just have to enjoy it while it is.
Yeah, I think John C. Reilly might be my favorite performance of his, because he's nailing it. And then, yeah, the dramatic, like the health stuff, I think
Yeah.
is all really well done. And yeah, like you can tell that he just loves to perform, and I think that
Mhm.
that comes across in his performance because it's like, are you sure about this? Like the dance, like he's got knee issues.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah,
big guy, and you can kind of see from the beginning of the movie to when they do the time jump, like he's
yeah.
gained a little bit of weight, and
Great
you can
makeup,
definitely
by the
see it.
way.
Yeah, great,
Amazing makeup
great
on John C. Riley. Incredible, spot on, like makeup effects and prosthetics and whatnot. All the stuff they added to his face and everything, just seamless. Great.
Yeah, and even though he's dealing with these health issues and he probably just doesn't feel the best, even
Hmm.
after performing, like he's got joy through it all, and I think
Yeah,
that's really great. And I love it later on in the movie. They both kind of know that the movie's not going to be made, that the
yeah,
Robin Hood
yeah,
movie
yeah,
that they're
yeah.
making. It's like,
Uh-huh.
so why were we still right there, or talking about it? Well, why not? Like,
Yeah,
like,
uh,
well, why not just do bits with your best friend that you've been doing this for, what, for
yeah.
like 30 years now?
Well,
Because
and that's also fairly accurate to real life. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
good, good.
No, I was just gonna say it's fairly accurate to real life. Stan was really kind of he really was kind of the brains and the writer of the operation. Like in real life, he wrote a lot of the bits, he choreographed like a lot of the little bits they did in their movies and whatnot. He was constantly writing and coming up with stuff. So that's very accurate. Every time he's just like, I got a new bit for you. What if we do this and that, and
Mhm.
would always pitch it to Ollie and Ollie because Ollie, he performed and he performed well, but he just wanted to perform, do his job, and go play golf. That's what he wanted to do in real life. He just wanted to go play golf. And they talk about that. He goes to the country club and plays golf. And,
Yeah,
it's just what he wanted to do. And he get married like 4 times. But then to be fair, Stan did too. So, he can't really say a whole lot because he also did that like 4 times. But, yeah, that's fairly accurate again to kind of how their real life thing was. I think the movie does take a few liberties in sort of over exaggerating the him doing the solo movie because that really wasn't a big deal in real life at the time, but they kind of have to have some kind of dramatic tension with that, and play that up a little bit for the argument scene, that they have at the after party. But even then, it's a minor quibble. Like, again, you gotta have to put your drama on your movie, and that's the driving
mhm.
thing of like, the issue that's kind of the elephant in the room, so to speak. Literally and figuratively, because it was the elephant picture you made, what and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's really just a story about realizing that your friendship, through this creativity, through the chemistry you have, that you guys really do care about each other and whatnot, and that you're basically brothers, And I mean, the Three Stooges were real brothers for the most part, other than Larry. So they really did have that brotherly connection. Laurel and Hardy were not, but they really did have that magic, on screen, and it's coming to realize that, and you could tell in the performances, the care that they had for each other, and that, it's there's little things I like in the movie, just real quick. Where like Stan for in real life also he was kind of a shy guy, but again when it came to performing he could turn it on, just like that. And I like those things where like they're waiting for the car for the girls to get there, and he's like, just when they get here, can we do the car routine? And again they can look at each other and he'll be like, all right, and they just go right into it. They had that chemistry of
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
we don't need to rehearse it, like let's do the car routine, and they just do it, and it's amazing. That's kind of how they were in real life, even when there's no audience, when they check into the hotel at the beginning of the movie and they're doing their like luggage check-in bit, just for this one lady, just probably because Stan was like, why not? Let's just do it to do it and just have
yeah,
fun. He was probably like, can we just do the luggage bit? Like, okay, let's just do it. And I
right.
like that stuff. Just these little touches in the movie that I love. Just them performing
Yeah,
just because, just to perform.
them waiting, and then I don't know if it was just a reference to the piano one, but the trunk and then falling down those 3 flights of
Oh
stairs.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
No,
was
it's a reference to the actual piano thing. Yeah, because like it does the same thing. The piano like bum 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 bum, it goes all the way down. Yeah, even when he's in the waiting room and just to start amusing himself, he just starts doing the hat bits, blowing up the hat and like flying off his head and things like that. Just because like why not? Just be silly, put it and try to make people laugh. So I like those little bits, throughout the movie. It's just pretty
yeah.
authentic.
No, it's great. This movie's great. Um, Yeah, very very underrated and underseen. And I don't think it's streaming anywhere either, which is unfortunate. Like I think
No, I had to
a lot
buy
of
it
people
on Vudu, but it's available on VOD. But yeah, it's not
right.
streaming for free anywhere, which is a shame. I want more people to see this movie for sure.
Yeah, me too. Like go rent it. It's worth a rental at least.
Hmm.
And if it's a good price on Vudu or whatever,
Hmm.
buy it because it's really really good. And I was kind of glad I just walked past it at Walmart and I was like, oh, I like John C. Riley. I like Steve Coogan. I'll pick it up and check it out. And now it's like one of my favorite biopics.
I actually did get to see it in a theater when it actually came out. It came out in one theater when I lived in Jacksonville, and I had to seek it out. And I knew it was going to be very very limited, but it came to one theater, pretty packed theater when I went and saw it. It was on my radar because again, I was a fan of like Three Stooges and
Mm-hmm.
Laurel and Hardy. So like when I heard there was going to be this new movie about them, I was looking for it, and then found it. But yeah, I got to see it in a theater. I'm glad I did. And then yeah, when it came on Vudu, I scooped it right up for sure because I wanted to rewatch it. And yeah, I rewatched it again for this, and no, just really, really, really heartfelt. Again, one of those comfort movies I can see myself just going back and just putting on, just to see them because all the best stuff is just them just doing their thing, and hanging out and their little chemistry back and forth. But yeah, really, really great. Yeah, this movie's awesome.
Yeah. So really, really solid one.
Hmm.
And then we move on to one that is just like I think this is just a big epic biopic.
Hmm.
Um and it might be my favorite biopic. I'd have to look at my list, but it's probably the highest biopic on my list. And yeah, that's Straight Outta Compton from
Yeah,
2015.
Compton. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's about the rap group NWA, starring O'Shea Jackson Jr., who
Hmm.
does an incredible job of playing his dad. Um,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. That's just genius casting right there.
Well,
I
there is a thing about that though. I will say it wasn't just given to him. You know what I mean? Ice Cube himself, when they were doing the press for this movie, said, "I will get you the opportunity if you want to play it, but you still have to audition and earn it." They
mm,
wasn't just give it to him, and he turned it over to F. Gary Gray and said, "If he doesn't earn it, like if you don't feel like he could do this role, don't hire him." And he had to really like go through like a boot camp basically to earn the role because there were other people who auditioned for it. It wasn't just him.
mm,
There were
yeah.
other people who wanted this role, obviously, playing Ice Cube. Like it's a big deal.
Hmm.
But yeah, he earned it. And no, he's got the attitude and the scowl and the rhythm, when he raps and yeah, that edge. And yeah, no, amazing casting that it worked out like that.
And it's his first role.
Yeah,
Like
that's insane.
he had done nothing
Yeah,
previous to this. Yeah, I was looking it up. Nothing. No other even smaller roles.
nothing.
No TV. I don't know if he did what else he was doing before this, but yeah, like for your first role, and he absolutely killed it. And I don't think he's given a better performance since, but I think he's got the potential to.
Hmm.
Yeah, we had Corey Hawkins as Dr. Dre. I
Hmm.
think he was pretty good casting. Jason Mitchell is easy. I think
He's spot
those
on, man.
yeah
He
yeah
looks
that
amazing. Yeah.
it's really good. I don't know MC Ren as as much, but Aldous Hodge plays MC Ren, and then you got Neil Brown as
Yella.
DJ Yella. Yeah, and then um, Snoop Dogg comes in later. I can't remember the guy who plays him, but um,
It's Lakeith Stanfield.
oh, it is. That's right. Oh,
It's
he.
an early Lakeith Stanfield. Yeah, because we actually had that Erica
That's
Barra
right.
asked us about that on ASAT the other night, and I had forgotten that. But it is a very early Lakeith Stanfield playing Snoop Dogg, which is kind of crazy. It
Wow.
was now he's blown up. He was just in obviously, Haunted Mansion most recently. He's in the Book of Clarence. He's in a bunch of movies right now. Yeah, it's a very early Lakeith Stanfield, which is kind of nuts, which I'd forgotten about.
Oh wow. Yeah, and then of course one of our favorite actors, Paul Giamatti,
Oh
as
yeah. Yeah.
Jerry Heller, and this is another one. Like I like that. Like much like Stan and Ollie. Like this is just a portion of their career.
Hmm.
It's pretty much their time as a group up until Eazy-E's death, and then we don't really follow up with that yet. I'm hoping we still do. Like, if does Lakeith Stanfield want to come back as Snoop Dogg? I don't know if he's quite got the look anymore for a young Snoop
But can
Dogg.
we do like a West Coast East Coast movie, you know, of like Dr. Dre and Snoop and all this like West Coast versus, you
Right.
know, Tupac, Biggie, you
Yeah,
know,
I'm
East
sure those two
Coast.
guys that play Tupac and Biggie are
They're
still
still
around.
around,
Got the
so
down.
yeah, why not? Like, do like a West Coast East Coast story of like that rivalry, man. Like, because I mean, they touch on it a little bit in each of those individual movies, but I think you could do a movie about those 2 or 3 years where they were really like, you know, like 93, 94, 95, you know, when that was like a really big deal. And you could do kind of a follow up with all these, like all these same people, you know, Ice Cube included, you know, everybody kind of doing their thing and make a really epic West versus East, you know, something like that. That would be pretty epic, you know, get everybody in on it and make it like a big encore of all these movies, you know, put together
Right.
and then really get it out there. That'd be awesome.
And they can end with the discovery of Eminem.
Yes.
No, I really like this movie. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorites. I rewatched it a couple weeks ago, and I love the beginning of this movie and how we just like we're introduced to all these people, and how they're coming. They come together. They all like music apparently, but they're all coming from pretty different, you know, sort of
Yeah,
backgrounds.
yeah.
Dr. Dre's working at a club as a DJ. Eazy-E's a drug dealer, and Ice Cube's just trying to go to school.
He's just a regular dude going to school. Yeah. And flash
Um,
man and on a bus where people are flashing gang signs and get, you know, boarded by a gang. That's no good.
yeah, no, that
Yeah.
and the bus driver was just like, all right. The bus driver was like, it's just Tuesday for me.
Yeah, whatever.
Um,
What's new?
uh, but no, I really like the beginning how they all come together, and then it just kind of you know explodes from there, and they like you know Ice Cube is a good lyricist. He's good at writing rhymes. He's got the voice. Dr. Dre's got the production. Him and
Beats, yeah.
Yella both. MC Ren can rap, and it's just they're all coming together for a just a big rap group, and they get discovered, and it goes from there. And it doesn't like take its time getting there either. It's just like we're gonna tell the story and we're gonna get there. Like you guys know who NWA is.
Well, it's an epic,
of,
but like you said, it's an epic in the sense that it only covers about what 5 years, maybe 4 or 5 years.
something like
But you
that.
know, but that's what I like is it's like, but we're gonna really explore those like, you know, the details of those 4 or 5 years, you know, the ups and the downs, the contract disputes, the, you know, the
Right.
splits from the band, you know, the issues that they had with both Giamatti and the other guy, you know, when Ice Cube broke off and his issues with the other producer
Right.
dude.
Yeah, I can't remember
You know,
the other producer's
yeah,
name.
but the guy he bashes his office up, which is a true story, by the way. Ice Cube's
Brian was
talked
his
about
name,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, he's talked about that. He really did that. Went in that dude's office with a baseball bat and tore it up with his
Take it out
crew.
of my check.
Yeah, right. But yeah, all their issues and like the diss tracks back and forth when they broke up, you know, a little bit of when Eazy-E broke off and made his own single stuff, you know, and was kind of dissing NWA as well. But yeah, and then sort of how they, and it was true how they almost kind of came back together before Eazy-E died
Right.
and kind of reunited, and they came very, very close. To actually reuniting and trying to do kind of a reunion album, which I think would have been amazing. Obviously, that would have been cool. But yeah, it's just kind of this really small slice of history, but again, one of those groups and whatnot, sort of like how the Beatles, you know, we talked about it on that tier ranker, how they only really had about 10 years where they were actually together, you know, doing music before they all kind of went solo. But, you know, they made an impact in that very short period of time, so much so that we're obviously still talking about all of them today. It was like a super group before they were even super. You know, they weren't even solo acts. They just started a super group and didn't even really know it, you know. And it was great.
Yeah, and it's I think it's such an important part of music history too.
Yeah.
Because it was a group that didn't care. Like there was I look back to the Detroit concert scene. I think it's Detroit.
Yeah.
And the cops were like, "You will not play the song F the police." And oh well, kind of, one of the reasons we're doing this is because we're not going to be told what to do.
Yeah.
So, hey Dre, I got something to say.
Yo,
And
Dre, I got something to say.
yeah,
The police coming straight from the underground. Yeah.
I
What?
I
But you know
would
what it's like? You know what it's like though? You know what? It's like in the Elvis movie. We just talked about, and that was a true thing where they told him, "You're not going to go on stage and gyrate." And what did he do? I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm going to go on stage and be me.
This is
And
what
he's
the
like,
fans
"I'm going
came
to."
to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna do what I do. I mean, obviously, it's a very different style of music and whatnot, but it's the same concept of like, no, we're gonna do what we do and do our music, and nobody should censor us and tell us what we can and can't do, musically and whatnot. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very important just for a different, culture, and a different style of music, but it's the
Hmm.
same idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and I loved how they balanced the music and sort of like the behind the scenes and all
Mhm.
the tension that was going on in the group, because I think there's enough like performances in the movie, like whether it's in the
Mhm.
booth or concert performances, but it's really about like you know Jerry and Easy kind of taking like reigns, like this is Easy E's company, and the
Mhm.
contract disputes, and Ice Cube kind of like being like the only one seeing this, and it's like, hey, well, can't
Yeah.
you guys see that they're taking money from you? And then
Mhm.
once they kind of all split, I think they balance that enough. Like, hey, this is what Easy's doing, this is what Ice Cube is doing, this is what Dre's doing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but it still feels cohesive enough,
Mhm.
to where they eventually want to come back together. Um, and then, yeah, I think that final scene, well, not that final scene, but like the final scenes where Easy discovers that he's got AIDS. I think
Right.
his
Yeah.
acting is just, it's
It's
so
excellent. Yeah.
good.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness! Like I'm not getting emotional about a rapper getting AIDS, am I? No, I am. Okay,
Yeah.
because I think his performance is just
Well,
so
I
so
I
good.
think the scene where, he goes and visits him like at the pool and they just have like that chat or whatever, and they kind of had that heart to heart, like Easy and Dr. Dre, and when they're
Yeah,
talking
that phone
about like
call was really
that
good.
phone call, yeah, and like talking about like doing the reunion, it's just like, yeah, I got some ideas, like we could do this, we could do that, we could really put something together, and I got some idea, I got some lyric, we could really do something cool, we bring
Yeah,
it back, and they're all just having that realization of like all the bullshit that we've been through. It's like it's all stupid, especially when
yeah,
somebody's like, real life stuff gets in the way, it's just like, we still care about each other at the heart of it, and
yeah,
we're all doing our thing. Yeah, there's some genuine heart to it. Yeah, because Easy is kind of the heart of the movie, like he really
yeah.
is.
He
And
is.
yeah, I mean, as much as everybody else is giving amazing performances, I think Mitchell is kind of, yeah, that core central thing, because that really is what killed NWA is when he died, and that's where the story ends. As I said on a battleground match, like I don't think you could do a straight sequel to this, because that is the story of NWA. It's done. It died when Easy died, and
Yeah,
man, you can't do that. But that's kind of where the movie stops right after that, and it's like we don't go further because that's the story, and that's what it
right.
is.
Yeah, and I think again, like I'm just going to reiterate, it's really well done. I think it's really well acted. Paul Giamatti, like he's
Mm-hmm.
both very likable but very hateable at the same time, and I think
Yeah,
that's incredible. Like the scene where they're getting harassed by the police, and he comes out and he's
yeah,
like, "You can't do that. These are ours. You can't do that." And just kind of sticking up for him, but at the same time, it's like later on, like what he's doing, and
mm,
with the contracts and stuff, and it's like, oh, you're a good guy, but you're not being a good guy right now.
yeah,
And so I think he's giving a really, really strong performance,
yeah,
as well. I wish this got more awards love. I'd have to go back and look at it again, but like it's hard to say who would be lead, but like Jason Mitchell for supporting, if they want to classify them all as like supporting.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
like I could see them. Like I don't remember what else came out in 2015 that would have been.
Well, I mean, again, I've got the Wikipedia here, so we could take a glance, at
But
what the competition would have been.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, let's say best supporting actor. Again, here's the thing. It was the year of Mark Rylance, which I still don't get. We've talked about
right.
that. The
Oh yeah,
year
this would
where,
have
where
been
the years where
Sylvester Stallone.
it should have been Stallone for Creed.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've all talked about that. But you also had Christian Bale in The Big Short, who's pretty good, but probably
Yeah,
not his best
he's
performance.
good, but
Mark Ruffalo in Spotlight, who's really good. He's
yeah, he's really
excellent.
good too. Yeah, I
And
agree with that.
Tom Hardy in The Revenant is great.
I
But to
agree with all.
me, I don't see the specialness of the Mark Rylance performance. You slide that out. Stallone wins the Oscar, as we talked about, but maybe
Yes.
Jason Mitchell gets in there as a supporting actor. There you
Yeah.
go.
Or if you want to make him lead, you can throw Paul Giamatti in as supporting because
Sure.
he's great.
But God, well, lead actor was really hot that year, so that's
that was DiCaprio was great.
DiCaprio finally won his Oscar. Bryan Cranston as Trumbo, Matt
Yeah.
Damon in The Martian, Fassbender as Steve Jobs, and Eddie Redmayne as Danish Girl. So yeah, there you go. So pretty heavy competition that
a
one.
tough year.
Yeah, tough year.
So I get it, but it's like I like, again. It's one of those things. I like to think that maybe he was number 6.
Yeah.
I like Johnny Depp in '94. Because I think these are all top-notch performances. Good, really good casting.
Hey, only 7 Best Picture nominees that year. Straight out of Compton, throw it in there. Why not? It's number 8, right?
Yeah. You
can nominate. You can nominate 10. Why not? Give us some love, right?
You had 10 slots. Yeah. I'd have to go back on it. This might be my favorite movie of 2015.
I was going to ask you, where does it rank as far as like I knew you were really high on it, but is it one of your favorites just of the 2010s, even like in general? Like
let me pull up my list.
I would say at least did get one Oscar nomination, at least for screenplay, for original screenplay. So at least got something.
Okay.
So it was at least recognized to a degree, but yeah, I think you could have even gone further. Sound design, maybe even things like that, sound mixing for a lot of that type of stuff, I could see. And yeah, maybe even a outside like Best Picture, but I guess maybe they don't consider, movies like this Best Picture material, of course. Because why would they?
Yeah. It's my number 12 for the 2010s, but if I go back and filter it even more to just 2015, it's number 1, just above Mad Max.
Mad Max Fury Road, yeah.
So, wow, Tom Hardy had Mad Max and The Revenant in the same year.
Yeah, no, he had a good year.
Wow, yeah, nice.
Yeah, and Mad Max, by the way, won a lot of the technical awards that year: production design, sound mixing, sound editing, and special effects. Yeah, no, I mean, a great, awesome movie, of course. So I can't complain too much about George Miller and what he did with that movie. So yeah,
no, that was my pick for Best Picture that year too. But I see why Spotlight was Spotlight's still a really good movie, but Straight Outta Compton at least deserved more recognition. This movie's great. Man, I'm glad to see that. I forgot that it got a screenplay because I do think it's really well written. It's streaming on Hulu. If for some reason you haven't seen this yet, I would highly recommend it. It's nearly 2.5 hours, but it flies by. I think it's really well paced.
I think the director's cut, the one I have on the Blu-ray, is even closer to 3. Actually, it's like a true epic.
So,
yeah, it's even longer. It's like 15 or 20 minutes longer. Just and it's not like big significant scenes. Just an extra minute here, an extra minute there. Just a few scenes that are longer and whatnot. But it's still really well paced. Again, I think this movie flies by when you watch it. Just the way it just runs through all the events and everything. Yeah, it's great. So, do you have a favorite particular scene or a couple of scenes from the movie? Or
I think it's the Detroit concert scene, and then when he's, I think that one as far as like a group scene. But I think individually, like Eazy-E when he discovers that he's sick and he's in the hospital bed. I think that's just some really great acting. I think it's the emotion he's able to display is really good.
I love the back and forth scene where Ice Cube is doing the diss track and they're all listening to it in Paul Giamatti's office, and the back and forth between, you see him, Ice Cube in the booth, like doing the song, and then listening to the tape and the different reactions from all the crew. So like Paul Giamatti's obviously like really pissed off. A couple of the guys are, but like Yella's in the back, like kind of laughing at it, thinking some of the lines are clever. A few of them are just like, that was a good line. Like some of them are, kind of like, was good. And and a few of them are mad. Ren's mad. A few of those guys. But I really like just the back and forth of that scene, the way it's edited. Like just the back and forth between Cube and them listening to it and whatnot. I really dig that. And yeah, the whole sequence where Ice Cube tears up the dude's office with a baseball bat. That scene is great. Yeah, where's my money, Brian? Like, come on, man, you owe me. I did what you said. Now give me my money. And he's got his goons like watching the door, just like making sure he can't run. Like it's great. I love that stuff.
I wonder if they took a trick out of Ed Wood's playbook and did that scene one time, or if they messed up and like, oh, now we got to do this again.
Put it all back together again.
Put all back together. We got to find all these pieces and
sweep it up. Yeah,
that would suck.
Yeah,
no, that's great. Yeah, there's a number of scenes in here that I think are really good.
I even like the first big concert they do in that one club, like together, where they kind of first get kind of signed or whatever, get discovered. That concert scene I think is even almost as good as the Detroit concert scene when they're first like really hitting like a lot of their early hits and whatnot, and they tear it down and kind of get noticed. Mm-hmm. Like I like that concert scene a lot as well. That one's kind of an underrated one.
And then the scene where Dre discovers that his brother got killed, because I feel like they're portrayed as these gangsters, and they're just hard and like but then it really like humanizes them, and like we get emotional too, we get sad, we can be sensitive, and I think it really shows them like they're more than just a group, but like they're like a little family, and I thought that was. That was a really good scene too.
Or even a quick little sequence that makes me laugh when Easy, they're trying to get him to rap and he can't figure out his rhythm. He's like cruising down the street on my 6'4". He's like, no, just let it flow, dude. Cruising down the street on my 6'4". It's like,
gotta be on beat. Gotta be on beat.
Yeah, get on beat, bro. Get on beat. Yeah, and then when he finally gets it, it's a funny little sequence. I like that where they're trying to really push him to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie's great. I love it. I like 3 of these 4. Gotti. Man, that's not how you make a biopic.
No. If you're gonna make a biopic, look to these other 3 on how to do it, not Gotti.
Yeah, these 3 are really good. They're probably 3 of my favorites.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd have to think about it, but probably towards the top of the list. So. And again, I don't know if we did it intentionally, but not biopics that are spanning somebody's entire life. But just
I think that's one of the better ways to do it. I mean, we're not showcasing it tonight, but you look at something like Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis, and that's just like a span of a few months in his life. It's not really like a full biopic. Like, here's Lincoln as a baby, here's him as a teenager. Right. Like, no, it's just like, here's him playing Lincoln. He alludes to things in his, in the past and whatnot, but it's just focusing on him during these couple months where he was trying to get the Emancipation Proclamation. You know what I mean? Like, again, I like that, where it's like, and Stan and Ollie, you have a couple of those quick little flashbacks that parallel with what's going on, here, which is fine. But like, we're not trying to do a birth to death cliche biopic, focus in on a story that can parallel kind of different things in their lives and whatnot, but hone in on something specific and a cool story within whatever you're trying to do, and don't just try to do the cliche thing of like, here's this so-and-so as a baby all the way through their death. That's too much to cram in for 2 hours. Like, it just doesn't work.
This was a fun episode. I like talking about these movies. And so we'll talk about what we've got going next. I think we settled on talking about rotten movies that we love.
I did make my list already, so I do have that somewhere in my notes.
I'm still working on my list. I've got a few ideas. It's like I really want to just nail it down to a couple movies that I really love that are rotten, and we set I think we set the cutoff
30% or lower. 30% or lower.
I don't know. I just saw that JPO and Zach Shelton did a countdown similar to this, so I don't know if it's just people are thinking about the Razzies because that's kind of the inspiration for this, but they were doing a countdown of the rotten movies, but they did 40% and below, but there were some good choices on there that I was like, that movie's rotten, that movie's got a rotten score. Like Hot Rod, I thought was fairly loved, but it's apparently got a rotten score. But yeah, no, that'll be our next.
So we'll each pick two movies that are under 30, and as we usually do, and do a 4-pack of movies that we don't think should be as rotten as they are on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, it'll be like with the episode we did with the Razzie last year, kind of a take on that. Movies that we think are kind of unfairly maligned, whatnot on surface level, and maybe deserve a little bit better. So that's what we'll do next week, and then we'll probably at some point, obviously, pretty soon start getting into our anniversary series because we got a lot of years to cover.
A couple of them are pretty big years. So
so we might end up doing like 4 movies on just 1 year on some of these years.
Exactly.
So it's very possible because there's some banger years where we could just do whole episodes on just one of the anniversary years.
Exactly.
Which is interesting, yeah.
So, and we may just have to do an episode because The Godfather 2, it's 50 years old. Also, so
we may just have to cover that.
That's a pretty good one. So but yeah, no, the anniversary series is one of my favorite things that we do. So but that's what we got coming up. Do you got anything else coming up in the near future?
Later tonight, over with Wolfman, Mega Movies with a Z. It's our monthly mistake. It's that time of month, Jacob. Our monthly mistake, and to celebrate, the month of love, Valentine's Day, we're doing the great 2001 slasher film Valentine and the drinking game that goes along with it. So very much a post-Scream. Nice young cast of 28-year-olds playing 18-year-olds. Early 2000s rock music all over the place, and bad PG-13 slasher action. So
nice.
we'll be doing Valentine later this evening. So I've got to do my little rewatch after we get off of here before we go live with that. I've been doing a lot of commentaries and things for, speaking of anniversaries, with Ryan Permerson over on And I Quote. That's his channel. We just did Ace Ventura last week for its 30th anniversary. That's crazy, right? Nuts. We're doing the 25th watch along tomorrow afternoon of The Matrix. So we're gonna do that. That's a big one, obviously, from '99. And then we've got I need to talk to you about it because we're gonna do The Lion King later this month, and it's your favorite animated movie. So I don't know if you went in on that. And I've told him about you, Jacob, that we need to get you on that. It's on Sunday afternoon, so you might be available.
I usually am.
All we do is you put the movie on a streaming service or DVD or whatever, in the background, and we just come on a stream and talk about it, during the movie. So, you can talk about whatever stories and just whatever behind the scenes about it, or just yap about why it's great. That's what we do.
I could definitely do that.
Yeah. I as soon as he said Lion King, I was like, I may have the guy for you to go along with the two of us. So I said, me and you and a guy named Jacob Barber. We may have to do that. So we'll talk about it off air, but maybe I told him
that'd be fun. Yeah, I love that movie, and any excuse to rewatch it.
Oh, of course. Obviously, you don't have to twist his arm to rewatch The Lion King.
No.
I mean, he could probably recite the movie start to finish regardless, just, anyways. But, that movie's 30 years old as well, which is crazy. Amazing how 94 is 30 years ago. That's just bonkers in my head. I don't believe it. But, yeah.
We're getting old, Austin.
We're getting old, man. I know. I'm getting closer to 40 myself, and it's hurting.
I'm closer to 40 than I am to 20 again now.
That's right. That's right.
But no, you can catch me. Speaking of the near future, I'll be on the Seen and Heard romance trivia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how well I'll do, but I am very good at guessing and at least putting down answers that are.
You can try. Yeah.
So,
it's just an exhibition, so we're just gonna have some fun, and
it's all fun around. When it's all clips, it's like I feel a little better when I have to remember who said what,
quotes and directors and all that.
That's where I get a little.
Leave that to the expert players. Like myself.
I don't consider myself an expert trivia player at all. I just like watching movies for fun. I don't remember things for trivia.
Yes.
But kudos to the people who can do that. Like people who just remember and they like that. Like it really impresses me.
Yeah.
So, shout out to those people. It's just not me. But yeah, I'll be there Monday, then Tuesday. Because of the Super Bowl tomorrow, Rankum will be on Tuesday at 9 Eastern, and we will be talking classic comedy. So that's anything before 1970. So
he asked me to be on
right.
that one, but I could only probably come up with 8 or 10. Like most of my favorite comedy, even my 2 favorite comedies are from the 70s. So if it was 70s
Right.
comedies, I could roll with it. But yeah, pre-70, yeah, I got maybe, yeah, same as you, Abbott and Costello, maybe Frankenstein, maybe Duck Soup from the Marx Brothers, maybe a few I could probably skirt up, but yeah, it's
Yeah. Well, there were a couple. I was like, well, they're listed. Comedy is one of their listed genres, so I'll bring it up. I don't know how much people will agree with me, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway because it says comedy. I don't know the panel like what they
what they'll
how
go
they
with, yeah.
classify things. So it'll be interesting. It should be fun though. Just as long as it's not a 2.5 hour show.
No.
Yeah, rank them Tuesday. Then next week we'll be back with the Lonely Marks doing the little TNA draft. So that's kind of what we got going on in the near future, as well as tournament fights, tier ranker, whenever a tier ranker.
Yeah. Everything here on the Movie Hero Network. Check us out for sure.
Everything. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified when we go live. And so, yeah, thank you for watching. If you watched live, if you're watching on the replay, thank you as well. Let us know what your favorite biopics are, because there's a lot of good ones. These are just the ones that we decided to choose. We could have chosen so many. And they would have been good. So yeah, that is Austin. I am Jacob. This has been a podcast about movies, and we will see you next time.